Thousands of migrants, many of them men from Afghanistan, are stuck at the Greek border post of Kastanies as they try to enter Europe from Turkey. Around 500 soldiers and Greek police officers sporadically fired tear gas at them on Saturday to deter them.
Greece, a country steeped in ancient history and modern geopolitical significance, has long been at the crossroads of Europe, Asia, and Africa. This unique position has made it both a gateway to Europe for many seeking refuge and a frontline state in the European Union's ongoing migration challenges. For years, Greece grappled with a severe immigration crisis that tested its infrastructure, social fabric, and political resilience.
A posse of politicians arrive in Greece from Brussels. After being introduced to the ministers in charge of the standoff at the Greek-Turkish border, EU President Charles Michel and Commission President Ursula von der Leyen board a military helicopter. The aim is to support Greece's migration stance.
The situation seemed insurmountable at times, with waves of migrants arriving on its shores, particularly during the height of the Syrian civil war and other regional conflicts. However, recent developments suggest that Greece may have finally turned the tide. The question now is, how did Greece manage to seemingly destroy its immigration crisis? Before we start, please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more updates. To understand the full scope of Greece's achievement, it is crucial to examine the historical context of the crisis.
Especially in Greece, Italy and Spain. And the EU-Turkey deal to pay Ankara to support 3.5 million Syrian refugees within its borders seems to have stalled.
They opened fire on the migrants. 3 migrants died. The guard shot him in his back while he was escaping.
The Greek migration crisis began in earnest around 2015 when the war in Syria escalated, pushing millions to flee their homes. Greece, with its proximity to Turkey, became one of the primary entry points into Europe. The Aegean islands such as Lesbos, Samos, and Chios bore the brunt of this influx, with thousands of refugees and migrants arriving daily in overcrowded, often unsafe boats.
EU leaders are keen to regulate how many migrants and refugees are allowed in, and so support the current hardline action taken by Greece.
This border is not only a Greek border, but it is also a European border, and I stand here today as a European at your side.
The images of these arrivals, particularly the tragic death of young Alan Kurdi, whose body washed up on a Turkish beach, became emblematic of the crisis and spurred global outcry. The sudden surge in arrivals overwhelmed Greece's already strained resources. The country was still reeling from a severe economic crisis that had left its economy in shambles and its social services gutted. The influx of refugees and migrants only exacerbated these problems.
Faraz and his family sit a little further away. 5 years ago, he fled from the Syrian city of Homs to Turkey. There, he met his wife, and there their daughter was born. Now they're on the road again.
We heard on the news that the borders to Europe are being opened. We set off immediately, by bus and taxi from Izmir to here, Edirne.
Leading to overcrowded camps, inadequate healthcare, and rising tensions among the local population. The infamous Moria camp on Lesbos, designed to hold 3,000 people, became a symbol of the crisis when it swelled to over 20,000 residents living in squalid conditions. Despite the dire situation, Greece did not give up.
They didn't visit the Turkish side of the border, where migrants hoping for opportunities and a better life in Europe are desperate to move forward.
We have children! Children for days have no food!
They said the borders were open.
Over the past few years, the Greek government, in collaboration with the European Union and various international organizations, implemented a multifaceted strategy aimed at managing and ultimately resolving the immigration crisis. The success of this approach lies in its comprehensive nature, addressing not only the immediate humanitarian needs of the migrants, but also the underlying causes of the crisis and the long-term integration of refugees into Greek society.
Many have nothing at all. The desperation becomes apparent when a few local volunteers arrive to distribute food. There isn't enough for everyone.
One of the most significant components of Greece's strategy has been its cooperation with Turkey. In 2016, the European Union and Turkey reached a landmark agreement that aimed to stem the flow of migrants into Europe. Under this deal, Turkey agreed to take back all migrants and refugees who crossed into Greece illegally, while the EU promised to resettle one Syrian refugee from Turkey for every Syrian returned.
The sign at the Greek border says welcome, but apparently that doesn't apply to these migrants. Greek border guards won't let anyone enter, even though there are thousands on the Turkish side eager to cross into the EU.
Additionally, the EU pledged financial aid to Turkey to help manage the refugee population within its borders. While the deal was controversial and faced criticism from human rights organizations, it played a crucial role in reducing the number of migrants arriving in Greece. However, Greece did not rely solely on the EU-Turkey agreement, recognizing that the root causes of migration needed to be addressed.
The migrants are growing increasingly frustrated with the wait. That's why some try making it across the border elsewhere. There are rumors some have already succeeded. But here, Greek police officers are repelling migrants with tear gas, while some retaliate by throwing stones.
Greece also focused on strengthening its border controls. The Greek government invested in new technology and infrastructure to better monitor its maritime and land borders. This included the deployment of drones, thermal cameras, and patrol boats, as well as the construction of new border fences in key locations. These measures helped to significantly reduce the number of illegal crossings, particularly along the land border with Turkey in the Evros region.
We are being used for political purposes. They should not use refugees for this. It's inhumane.
Now we know that all this is a game. Nobody knows what the result will be. We just want someone to tell us what will happen.
Another key element of Greece's strategy was the improvement of its asylum system. In the early years of the crisis, Greece's asylum system was overwhelmed by the sheer number of applications, leading to long delays and a significant backlog. To address this, the Greek government undertook a series of reforms aimed at speeding up the asylum process and ensuring that decisions were made more quickly and efficiently.
Near the same island this morning, a child migrant drowned when a boat capsized. And the Turkish authorities have released this video, which they claim was filmed today, showing the Greek Coast Guard driving dangerously close to a packed dinghy, hitting people on board, firing shots into the water, then pushing them back out to sea.
This included the hiring of additional staff, the digitization of records, and the introduction of new procedures to streamline the process. As a result, the backlog of asylum applications has been significantly reduced, and the average processing time has decreased from several years to just a few months. In addition to these measures, Greece also worked to improve the conditions in its refugee camps.
Cold, exhausted, but thankfully on dry land. At least 700 migrants reached the Greek islands by boat from Turkey yesterday. And on Lesbos, this is what they faced when they arrived.
The border is closed. Why you come?
The Greek government, with support from the EU and international organizations, invested in upgrading the infrastructure of the camps, providing better housing, sanitation, and medical facilities. New camps were also constructed to alleviate overcrowding in the existing ones. While conditions in some camps remain challenging, these improvements have made a significant difference in the lives of many refugees and migrants.
There have been ugly scenes at the land border too, with the Greek police firing tear gas at migrants and being pelted with stones in return. Greece says it's defending its and the EU's territory after Turkey's president announced on Friday that his country could no longer deal with the number of people fleeing the war in Syria.
A crucial aspect of Greece's approach has been its focus on integration. The Greek government recognized that the successful integration of refugees and migrants into society was essential for the long-term resolution of the crisis. To this end, various programs were implemented to support the education, employment, and social inclusion of refugees.
Migrants have flocked to the boundary, and Turkey says that more than 75,000 people have crossed. with many then being arrested by the Greek authorities.
This is our life. Every time to struggle and saving our life.
Language courses, vocational training, and job placement services were offered to help refugees gain the skills they needed to find work and contribute to the Greek economy. Additionally, efforts were made to promote social cohesion by fostering dialogue and understanding between refugees and the local communities. Despite these efforts, the path to resolving the immigration crisis was not without its challenges. Greece faced significant criticism from both domestic and international actors, including accusations of human rights abuses, particularly in relation to the pushbacks of migrants at sea and the conditions in the camps.
Greece says it stopped nearly 10,000 people entering within the space of 24 hours and has suspended all asylum applications for a month. One of the few certainties in these people's lives right now is that those who survive the perilous journey to Greece.
The Greek government, while acknowledging the difficulties, argued that it was doing its best under extremely challenging circumstances, and that its priority was to protect the country's borders and ensure the safety of its citizens. The issue of migration also became highly politicized.
According to the police, the migrants are throwing tear gas canisters made in Turkey at them. They say this is proof of an organised and illegal attempt to violate Greece's borders. Some migrants are searching for other, more accessible entry points along the river Evros, which marks most of the land border between Greece and Turkey.
With far-right groups and parties using the crisis to stoke fears and gain political capital. This created a polarized environment in which the government had to navigate carefully, balancing the need to address legitimate security concerns with the obligation to uphold human rights and provide humanitarian assistance. Moreover, the broader geopolitical context played a significant role in shaping Greece's response to the crisis.
Thousands of migrants, many of them men from Afghanistan, are stuck at the Greek border post of Kastanies as they try to enter Europe from Turkey. Around 500 soldiers and Greek police officers sporadically fired tear gas at them on Saturday to deter them.
Relations with Turkey, always complex, became increasingly strained as the two countries found themselves at odds over a range of issues, including maritime boundaries, energy exploration, and military activities in the Eastern Mediterranean. These tensions occasionally spilled over into the migration issue, with Turkey threatening to open its borders and allow a new wave of migrants to enter Greece. This required Greece to maintain a delicate balance, using diplomacy and military preparedness to manage the situation.
We're struggling, we're doing everything we can to keep our borders closed. It's clear by now that they're not Syrian refugees. We're talking about many nationalities and a huge refugee flow. Turkey has decided to send us waves of refugees, and we're trying to manage this unprecedented situation.
One of the most innovative aspects of Greece's approach to the migration crisis has been its use of digital technology and data. The Greek government, with support from the EU, developed a comprehensive digital platform to manage the flow of information related to migration. This platform, known as the National Coordination Center for Border Control, Immigration and Asylum, integrates data from various sources, including border surveillance systems, asylum applications, and refugee camps.
A Greek government spokesman said that since Friday, more than 4,000 migrants have been prevented from crossing into Greece, and there have been 66 arrests.
This real-time data allows the government to make informed decisions, allocate resources more effectively, and respond quickly to emerging challenges. The use of technology has also improved transparency and accountability, making it easier to monitor the implementation of migration policies and ensure that they are aligned with international standards. Another important factor in Greece's success has been the role of international cooperation. Greece's migration crisis was not just a national issue, but a European and global one.
We are only a few meters from the border with Turkey, and this is the closest we could get. Even now, hundreds of refugees and migrants are gathering here and trying to cross the border. This is proving impossible, though, since the Greek authorities have sealed the area.
The Greek government worked closely with the European Union, the United Nations, and various non-governmental organizations to coordinate its response. The EU provided significant financial and technical assistance to Greece. including funding for border controls, asylum processing, and refugee support programs. The UNHCR and other international organizations also played a crucial role in providing humanitarian aid and advocating for the rights of refugees and migrants. Greece's approach to the migration crisis has also evolved over time. Initially, the focus was on managing the immediate humanitarian needs of the refugees and migrants arriving in the country. However, as the situation stabilized, the emphasis shifted to longer-term solutions, such as improving the asylum process, enhancing border security, and promoting integration. This shift in focus was essential for moving beyond crisis management to building a more sustainable and resilient system for dealing with migration. One of the key lessons from Greece's experience is the importance of flexibility and adaptability in responding to complex challenges. The Greek government had to continually adjust its strategies and policies in response to changing circumstances, whether it was a sudden surge in arrivals, a new diplomatic crisis with Turkey, or a change in the EU's migration policies. This ability to adapt and innovate was crucial for overcoming the many obstacles that arose along the way. Despite the significant progress that has been made, the migration issue in Greece is far from fully resolved. The situation remains fluid, with ongoing challenges related to integration, security, and human rights. However, Greece's experience offers valuable insights for other countries facing similar challenges. By taking a comprehensive, multifaceted approach that addresses both the immediate and long-term aspects of the crisis, Greece has demonstrated that it is possible to manage and eventually overcome even the most severe migration challenges. One of the most significant outcomes of Greece's handling of the migration crisis has been the shift in public perception. In the early years of the crisis, there was widespread fear and anxiety about the impact of migration on Greek society. However, as the government's strategies began to take effect and the situation improved, public opinion gradually shifted. While there are still pockets of resistance and xenophobia, there is now a greater understanding among the Greek population of the complexities of migration and a recognition of the contributions that refugees and migrants can make to society. Moreover, Greece has leveraged the migration crisis as an opportunity to strengthen its social safety nets and public services. The influx of refugees placed immense pressure on the country's healthcare, education, and social welfare systems. However, rather than being overwhelmed, Greece used this challenge as a catalyst for reform. Investments in healthcare infrastructure, particularly in areas with high concentrations of refugees, have improved access to medical services for both migrants and the local population. Similarly, the expansion of educational programs to accommodate refugee children has also benefited Greek students by reducing class sizes and improving the quality of education. The role of civil society in Greece's response to the migration crisis cannot be overstated. From the beginning, NGOs, volunteers, and local communities played a vital role in providing humanitarian assistance and advocating for the rights of refugees. These groups often stepped in where the government was unable or unwilling to act, providing food, shelter, legal aid, and medical care to those in need.
A posse of politicians arrive in Greece from Brussels. After being introduced to the ministers in charge of the standoff at the Greek-Turkish border, EU President Charles Michel and Commission President Ursula von der Leyen board a military helicopter. The aim is to support Greece's migration stance.
Over time, the Greek government recognized the value of these contributions and began to work more closely with civil society organizations. This collaboration has been crucial in ensuring that the needs of refugees are met in a more comprehensive and humane manner. One of the most powerful stories to emerge from Greece's handling of the migration crisis is that of local solidarity. Despite the economic hardships faced by many Greeks, especially in rural and island communities, there was a remarkable outpouring of support for refugees. Many locals opened their homes, shared their resources.
Angry locals roaming the streets at night, setting up roadblocks and threatening both the migrants and those who work with them. This is a deliberate campaign of intimidation, one man told us. He was so worried he didn't want to show his face on camera.
And volunteered their time to help those who had fled conflict and persecution. This spirit of solidarity was not limited to individuals, but was also reflected in the actions of local governments, businesses, and religious organizations. The Greek Orthodox Church, for example, played a significant role in providing aid and advocating for the humane treatment of refugees, while local municipalities often went above and beyond their official responsibilities to support integration efforts. This grassroots response was not only a reflection of Greek hospitality, known as philoxenia, but also a recognition of shared humanity. Many Greeks saw parallels between the plight of refugees and their own history, recalling the mass displacement of Greeks from Asia Minor in the early 20th century. This historical memory fostered a sense of empathy and a moral imperative to help those in need. As a result, despite the challenges and the strain on resources, many Greek communities emerged from the crisis with a stronger sense of social cohesion and collective responsibility. Greece's experience with the migration crisis has also had broader implications for European migration policy. As one of the frontline states, Greece has been at the forefront of discussions about how the European Union should manage migration. The challenges faced by Greece expose the weaknesses in the EU's existing migration and asylum policies, particularly the Dublin regulation, which placed disproportionate responsibility on countries at the EU's external borders. Greece's calls for a more equitable distribution of refugees across the EU, greater financial support, and a more coherent approach to migration management have gradually gained traction in Brussels. The migration crisis also prompted Greece to take on a more active role in shaping the EU's external policies, particularly in relation to its neighbors in the Middle East and North Africa. Recognizing that instability in these regions was a major driver of migration.
Faraz and his family sit a little further away. 5 years ago, he fled from the Syrian city of Homs to Turkey. There, he met his wife, and there their daughter was born. Now they're on the road again.
We heard on the news that the borders to Europe are being opened. We set off immediately, by bus and taxi from Izmir to here, Edirne.
Greece has advocated for a more comprehensive approach to addressing the root causes of displacement, including conflict prevention, economic development, and climate change mitigation. This has involved greater engagement with countries like Turkey, Lebanon, and Jordan, which host large numbers of refugees, as well as efforts to strengthen the EU's external borders and improve cooperation with countries of origin and transit.
Remember the migrant crisis? It can happen again. In the short stretch of water between Lesbos and Turkey, the Greek Coast Guard has stepped up aggressive patrols. Yesterday, a young Syrian boy drowned in this channel when one dinghy capsized.
The impact of the migration crisis on Greek politics has been profound. Initially, the crisis fueled the rise of far-right and nationalist movements, which sought to capitalize on public fears and frustrations. The Golden Dawn Party, in particular, gained significant support by exploiting anti-immigrant sentiment and advocating for extreme measures to defend Greece from what it portrayed as an invasion of migrants. However, the party's influence waned as its leaders were convicted of criminal activities, and as the government demonstrated that it could effectively manage the crisis. The handling of the migration crisis has also been a defining issue for Greece's mainstream political parties. The ruling New Democracy Party, led by Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis,
leaders are keen to regulate how many migrants and refugees are allowed in, and so support the current hardline action taken by Greece.
This border is not only a Greek border, but it is also a European border, and I stand here today as a European at your side.
Took a tough stance on border security and asylum policy, which resonated with a significant portion of the electorate. However, the government also made efforts to balance this with a more pragmatic and humanitarian approach, recognizing that a purely punitive or exclusionary policy would not be sustainable in the long term.
Many have nothing at all. The desperation becomes apparent when a few local volunteers arrive to distribute food. There isn't enough for everyone.
This balancing act has allowed New Democracy to maintain broad support while also reducing the appeal of more extreme political factions. Conversely, the opposition parties, particularly Syriza, which was in power during the peak of the crisis, have had to navigate the complex terrain of migration politics. Syriza's initial response to the crisis was more open and humanitarian, reflecting its left-wing progressive ideals. However, the realities of governing during such a challenging time forced the party to adopt more restrictive measures, leading to tensions within its ranks and criticism from its base. The experience of managing the migration crisis has thus been a critical factor in shaping the evolution of Greek political discourse and the realignment of party ideologies. One of the most significant achievements of Greece's approach to the migration crisis has been the reduction in the number of fatalities at sea. In the early years of the crisis, the Aegean Sea was a graveyard for thousands of migrants and refugees attempting the perilous journey from Turkey to Greece.
Rescuers are continuing their search off the coast of Greece for victims of a boat that has claimed the lives of at least 79 migrants. Hundreds are thought to have been on board this ship, which is travelling, we think, between Tobruk and Libya.
Overcrowded and unseaworthy boats, often operated by unscrupulous smugglers, capsized with alarming frequency, leading to tragic loss of life. The international community was shocked by images of lifeless bodies washing up on Greek shores, and the situation became a symbol of the broader failure to manage migration in a humane and orderly manner. In response, Greece, in collaboration with the EU and international partners, significantly enhanced its search and rescue capabilities in the Aegean. The deployment of additional Coast Guard vessels, along with increased aerial surveillance and cooperation with Frontex,
didn't visit the Turkish side of the border, where migrants hoping for opportunities and a better life in Europe are desperate to move forward.
We have children! Children for days have no food!
They said the borders were open.
the EU's border agency, helped to prevent many tragedies at sea.
Especially in Greece, Italy and Spain. And the EU-Turkey deal to pay Ankara to support 3.5 million Syrian refugees within its borders seems to have stalled.
They opened fire on the migrants. 3 migrants died. The guard shot him in his back while he was escaping.
Furthermore, the EU-Turkey deal, despite its controversies, played a role in reducing the number of dangerous crossings by providing a safer, legal pathway for asylum seekers. The result has been a dramatic decrease in the number of fatalities, transforming the Aegean from a zone of death to a more secure frontier. The broader international community has taken note of Greece's experience and the lessons learned from its management of the migration crisis. Greece's approach has been studied by other countries facing similar challenges, and its strategies have influenced global discussions on migration governance. The emphasis on balancing security with humanitarianism, integrating refugees into society, and addressing the root causes of migration has informed debates at the United Nations, the European Union, and other international forums. Greece has also contributed to the development of new international frameworks for migration, including the Global Compact for Migration, which seeks to create a more coordinated and humane approach to managing migration worldwide. Greece's handling of the migration crisis has also had important implications for its national identity and its role in the world. The crisis forced Greece to confront fundamental questions about who it is as a nation.
We want to get out of this hell. We want to get out of this hell. Is everyone want this?
So all of these people are basically waiting for a ferry to go to Athens, to get off the island. And there seems to have been some idea amongst them that that was going to happen today.
And how it sees its place in the world. On one hand, the crisis highlighted Greece's vulnerabilities and the challenges of being a small country on the edge of Europe facing enormous global forces. On the other hand, it also showcased Greece's resilience, creativity, and capacity for solidarity in the face of adversity. In many ways, the migration crisis has led to a reassertion of Greece's historical identity as a bridge between East and West, a place of refuge, and a guardian of European values. Greece's ability to manage the crisis, despite its many challenges, has strengthened its position within the European Union and increased its influence in regional and international affairs. Moreover, the crisis has underscored Greece's role as a key player in addressing global challenges. from migration to climate change to geopolitical instability. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave your comments below and tell us, what changes do you expect Greece to implement next? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching and see you next time.